She stopped texting back. Her tone changed. She used to light up when you walked in. Now you're just there. You didn't cheat. You didn't lie. You just cared too much, gave too much, stayed too available. And that's exactly why she stopped valuing you. Because in this world, the louder you try to prove your worth, the more invisible you become. But what if I told you that the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing? Not with silence that begs for attention, but with strategic silence that shifts the entire dynamic. That flips the chase. That makes her feel your absence like a weight on her chest. Today, I'll show you why women value you more when you master these 7 silent actions, not through words, not through effort, but through moves so subtle, so potent, they change how every woman sees you, for good. Miss one of these, and you'll keep getting ghosted, ignored, and disrespected. But master them, and you'll never chase again. Watch this till the very last second. Comment, "Silence is strength," if you're ready to watch till the end. Number 1. Withdraw attention first. You give and give and give, and what do you get in return? Silence, indifference, sometimes even mockery. You respond quickly, check in often, make sure she's okay. Remember the little things. Put in effort because you think that's what good men do. You think consistency equals appreciation. But she doesn't see it that way. Not anymore. Because what's constant becomes invisible. What's always there becomes expected. And what's expected becomes ignored. That's your truth, isn't it? You've been the guy who showed up, stayed loyal, proved your worth, and still, you became background noise. You don't even get a thank you, just the occasional, "You're too much," or "I need space." The very space you used to fill with presence, with energy, with devotion. So now you're exhausted, confused, angry. You gave her everything, and all she saw was someone who didn't know how to walk away. You taught her to take you for granted. You made her feel safe in her indifference. She knew you'd always be there, always responding, always apologizing, always trying. So now, for the first time, you choose you. You pull back. Not out of spite, not for revenge, but because you finally understand. Your attention is your currency, and she's been overdrawing it. You stop texting first. You stop checking in. You stop reacting to her inconsistency. And now she feels it, deeply. Because the silence you once feared becomes the tension she can't escape. She's checking your stories, asking mutuals about you, reactivating her presence because she senses your absence. And not just absence, but detachment. She no longer controls your responses. She no longer dictates your value. And in that shift, the power dynamic flips. She doesn't get your time for free anymore. She earns it, with respect, with effort, with clarity. And when she doesn't bring that, you stay gone. You don't negotiate your peace. You don't beg for her awareness. You become the man who doesn't speak often, but when he does, the room listens. You don't announce the pullback. You let it speak. Because when you master this, she doesn't just miss you. She reevaluates everything. She questions why she let you go, why she tested you, why she thought you'd always be available. You're no longer the fallback. You're no longer the emotional sponge. You're the man who walked away from noise and became an echo she can't escape. And yes, it stings her, but not as much as it would have stung you to keep giving in a space that was slowly killing your value. You don't chase what doesn't match your effort. You don't fix what refuses to acknowledge its own mess. You step back and observe. And when she realizes you've stopped orbiting her world, that's when your gravity hits hardest. Your silence isn't rejection, it's reflection. It reflects her energy back at her. No chasing, no persuading, just clarity. The kind of clarity that drives her insane. She expected anger, she expected drama, but all she gets is distance. And now you're the mystery again. the one she used to admire before she tried to control. You want to be respected? Withdraw. Watch who reaches out when you stop showing up. That's your real value. That's your worth. And it was never in proving. It was always in pulling back. And if you're serious about never chasing again, if you're tired of feeling powerless, overlooked, and unappreciated, then the Stoic Relationship Blueprint is the only guide you'll ever need. The link is waiting in the comments. This isn't just a book. It's your weapon, your clarity, your reset button. Every silent action, every shift, every power move broken down so you know exactly how to reclaim your value and keep it. Ask yourself, how many years have you lost trying to be enough for someone who couldn't see you? This blueprint gives you the roadmap to never feel that way again, and it's yours forever. Once you own it, no one can take that knowledge away. Not her, not time, not pain. This is your moment, and the man who acts now is the one who never has to beg for respect again. Number 2, stop explaining yourself. You've spent your life explaining your intentions, why you said what you said, why you didn't reply fast enough, why you're not always available, why you choose yourself. Every sentence, every explanation was an attempt to be seen, to be understood, to be appreciated. And yet, the more you explain, the less they listen. Because the need to explain puts you beneath them. It places your worth on a scale they control, and you feel it. Every time you justify your actions, you shrink. You become the guy who pleads to be understood instead of standing in truth. And deep down, you know, no one ever explained their way into being respected. You've told her over and over that you're trying, that you're loyal, that your silence isn't a game, that you have boundaries, but none of it matters. She only hears what she wants to hear, because the more you speak, the less she feels your strength. The man who constantly explains himself is seen as unsure, even when he's right. She may nod. She may say, "I get it," but internally, she files you under soft, not because you're weak, but because you're still performing for approval. And that's the death of respect. That's the death of desire. Women don't admire the man who constantly seeks understanding. They admire the man who moves with such conviction that explanation becomes unnecessary. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. You stop arguing with her moods. You stop clarifying why you didn't answer her 3 a.m. text. You stop typing essays to defend why your time is valuable. You simply act. You disappear when you're not being respected. You decline invitations to chaos. You choose peace without warning. And what happens next is the shift you've been waiting for. She starts listening. Because now, your actions carry weight. Now, your absence is the message. You don't tell her you're tired, you just rest. You don't explain your distance, you embody it. You don't declare your value, you reflect it in how you move. And suddenly, she's confused. The man who used to beg to be seen now walks in silence, unbothered. And that silence, it cuts deeper than 1,000 explanations. Because now she has to guess what you're thinking. She replays everything. She questions her tone, her behavior, her role in pushing you away. And all you've done is stopped over-communicating. You're not mean. You're not passive. You're done performing. That's the difference. You've spent too long building arguments in your head, trying to say the right thing to get her to understand. But now, you let her figure it out. You let the loss of your clarity become her confusion. And that's where the transformation begins. The man who stops explaining becomes the man who gets answers. Because when you no longer offer your energy to unworthy ears, you begin to hear yourself again. You become clear, certain, untouchable. She can't predict your reactions. She can't script your next move. You've returned to your power, and she either rises to meet you or disappears into the noise. And either way, you win. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment the world starts explaining you to them. Number 3. Control your emotional reactions. You've been trained your whole life to respond, to react, to prove you're affected, to wear your heart on your sleeve so she sees how much you care. You've been conditioned to think that emotional outbursts mean you're invested, that silence is cold, and that not showing pain is some form of avoidance. But where has that gotten you? Be honest. How many times have you raised your voice, explained yourself with trembling hands, cried in front of her thinking that would change something, and still watched her pull further away? You're not weak for feeling. You're human. But every time you react without thinking, you surrender your frame. And she sees it. She tests you, not because she consciously wants to destroy you, but because a woman instinctively wants to know what kind of man she's dealing with. Can he be moved like a pawn, or does he move like a king? When you explode, argue, beg, chase, and break down in front of her, you might think you're being vulnerable, but what she sees is a man who's lost control of his center, and respect dies in that moment. Attraction dies. Because whether she admits it or not, she craves a man who can hold steady when the waves crash. Not a man who flips the boat the second the water rises. You have to realize that not reacting isn't about hiding emotion. It's about choosing when and how to express it. You're not a puppet. And the minute you become one, she loses interest. Think about the last time she pushed your buttons. Maybe she brought up your past, flirted with another guy in front of you, got cold for no reason, cancelled plans last minute, played the victim after disrespecting you. How did you respond? Did you chase her for closure? Did you try to fix it? Did you get angry? Did you try to win her back with words? And did it work? Or did you just lose more of yourself in the process? Every test is an opportunity, a moment to show that her chaos does not dictate your clarity, that her silence does not trigger your desperation, that her games don't bring you to your knees. And when you respond with calm, not fake peace, but real inner stillness, you disrupt everything she thought she knew about you. She starts second-guessing her behavior. She questions why her usual tricks no longer work, and that's when she starts respecting you in silence. That's when you become rare. Imagine she lashes out, waiting for a fight, but instead, you say nothing. You let her spin in her own storm while you stay rooted. You get up, walk away, and carry on with your life like her drama never touched your soul. That's power, because you're not avoiding conflict. You're choosing your peace. You're showing her, and the world, that your emotions are not up for manipulation. And this isn't just about women. This is about life. When your boss snaps at you, when a friend betrays you, when the world tests your patience, how do you respond? The man who reacts emotionally is always playing defense. The man who breathes, pauses, and chooses his response. He plays offense. He dictates the tone. He owns the room. If you want to be that man, start small. The next time someone disrespects you, pause, say nothing. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them deal with their own tension. You don't owe anyone a reaction that costs you your peace. And the more you practice this, the more powerful you become. People will test you just to feel something. Don't give them that satisfaction. Stay still and watch how they fold in your silence. Because control isn't about being emotionless. It's about emotional discipline. And discipline, that's where your value skyrockets. You want to transform your life. Start by mastering your response. Because once you control your reactions, you control the narrative. Number 4, detach from outcome. Every time you cling to a result, you lose your power. You text her with the hope she replies. You take her out hoping she feels something. You call her hoping it brings back what you once had. But hope, rooted in attachment, is desperation wearing cologne. It reeks of neediness. It's invisible, but women smell it from miles away. And the second they do, you're no longer a challenge. You're a liability. You place your happiness in her hands, your peace in her mood, your self-worth in how she treats you. And when she senses that, consciously or not, the power imbalance begins. She doesn't have to earn anything anymore. You're already sold. You're already emotionally invested. She can show less effort, respond slower, test harder, and you'll still be there, waiting for her to see your value, waiting for her to change. But what if she doesn't? What if she never does? What if she's incapable of being what you hope for, and you've wasted your prime years waiting on a fantasy that only exists in your head? Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop depending. It means you want, but you don't need. It means you give, but you don't chase. It means you love, but your life doesn't crumble when they leave. Because when you attach your identity to an outcome, you imprison yourself to a result you don't control. You become a puppet to her attention, a slave to her validation, and she knows it. Every time you text "good morning" and she ignores it, and you feel like your day is ruined, that's attachment. Every time she doesn't answer your call and you spiral mentally, that's attachment. Every time she flakes and you bend your boundaries to still accommodate her, that's attachment. You've given her more control over your emotional world than you've given yourself, and that's why you feel exhausted, burnt out, resentful. Because deep down, you know you're handing your value over to someone who doesn't even protect it. So how do you fix this? You start building a life so full, so focused, so fulfilling that no single person has the power to disrupt it. You wake up for your goals, not her messages. You train your body for your future, not for her approval. You invest in your mission, not in earning her attention. And slowly the attachment fades. You stop checking your phone like a teenager. You stop interpreting her silence as failure. You stop needing her to validate your worth. And you realize you were always the prize. Not in an arrogant way, but in a way that honors your energy. In a way that demands mutual respect. In a way that doesn't cling to what disrespects you. You walk into every connection now with one truth. I choose to be here, but I don't have to be. That one mindset shift changes everything. It creates space. Space for her to prove herself. Space for you to breathe. Space for you to stop micromanaging her behavior and start mastering your own. And the irony? When you finally let go of outcome, when you stop caring about whether she stays or leaves, she starts working harder to keep you. Because now, you're not begging for her energy. You're rewarding her behavior. You're not trying to be chosen. You already chose yourself. And when you do that, something strange happens. People respect you more. Because the man who doesn't need anyone becomes the man everyone wants. Not because he's playing games, but because he's already whole. And wholeness, that's the kind of energy that cannot be faked. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes her rethink everything. And most of all, that's what gives you your life back. Number 5. Level up quietly. You've been loud for too long. Loud about your pain. Loud about your plans. Loud about the goals you haven't hit yet. You've posted your intentions. Talked about what you're going to do. Told her you're changing, becoming better, working on yourself. And what does she do? She listens for a moment. Then she scrolls. She hears you, but she doesn't feel you, because she's heard it all before. Promises with no proof, plans with no execution, dreams with no deadlines. And the truth is, she doesn't believe you anymore. Not because you're incapable, but because you've become predictable. You've become background noise in her world of chaos. And in a world where everyone is shouting for attention, the man who moves in silence becomes the one who stands out. Because real power is never announced. It's revealed. It shows up without warning and doesn't ask for permission. It just arrives, undeniable, unshakable, impossible to ignore. That's who you must become. You stop talking about the gym. You let your presence show the discipline. You stop complaining about your finances. You silently grind until your account speaks for itself. You stop arguing for your worth. You live in a way that demands recognition without saying a word. You don't update her about your progress. You don't send her selfies from the weight bench. You don't message her every time you take a step forward. You disappear into your purpose, and you let the results hunt her down like a shadow she can't escape. She starts seeing the glow, the clarity in your eyes, the confidence in your stride, and it hits her. You didn't just change, you transformed. You became a man she no longer recognizes, not because you're someone else, but because you finally became you, without asking for permission. She remembers the version of you that begged for her time, that apologized for your ambition, that stayed small to keep her comfortable. That version is dead. And you didn't bury him with words. You buried him with action. You didn't announce your rebirth. You became it. And that's what haunts her. Because now you're living the life she never thought you'd have. Now you're glowing with the energy she tried to dim. And the most painful part for her, you did it without her. No final argument, no desperate plea, just silence and success. You rise quietly, and in doing so, you become the man every woman feels but can't reach. The one who doesn't need validation, the one who doesn't chase approval, the one who built himself in the dark and emerged as a force. And that force, it shakes the people who doubted you. It exposes the women who played with your time. It reminds everyone watching that the man who levels up without noise is the man who changes everything. So stop announcing, stop performing, stop proving, go dark, go deep, go internal, and when you return, return as the storm they never saw coming. Number 6, walk away without warning. She never believed you would leave. You've threatened it before, said you're done, said you're walking, but you always came back. You always explained, always hoped she would change, always gave one more chance. And she learned something from that. She learned that your words are cheap, that your threats are empty, that your boundaries are negotiable. So she pushed harder, respected you less, because deep down, she knew you'd never really walk. You'd bark maybe, raise your voice, get emotional, but you'd stay. You'd fight for someone who wasn't fighting for you. That's been your cycle, and it's killing you. You lose more of yourself every time you stay where you're being disrespected. You lose dignity, you lose power, you lose time. You become a version of yourself you don't even recognize. Reactive, weak, confused. So one day, without anger, without warning, you decide to walk. Not for attention, not to trigger a reaction, but because your peace is no longer up for debate. You don't slam the door. You don't write a goodbye paragraph. You just go. You disappear from her world like she never expected. And in that silence, something terrifying happens. She finally hears you. Not the words, not the pleas, not the calls, but the message that only your absence can send. She scrambles, reaches out, tests the waters. But you don't answer, because now you've seen the truth. The longer you stay in disrespect, the more you teach her to deliver it. The more you accept crumbs, the more she withholds the feast. So you cut the tie, emotionally, physically, psychologically. You don't post about it. You don't explain it to mutual friends. You don't seek revenge. You move in silence. You build, you heal, you grow. And the irony? The moment she sees you no longer care is the moment she begins to. She replays everything she said, every time she ignored your value, every time she pushed you away thinking you'd return. And now you won't. Not because you're bitter, but because you finally respect yourself. You've realized that the strongest move isn't confrontation, it's disconnection. And when you walk away without warning, you rob her of the control she thought she had. She doesn't get closure. She doesn't get to spin the narrative. All she gets is silence. And that silence forces her to face herself. That's when she feels it. That's when she spirals. That's when she realizes the man she thought would always be there is gone. And it burns. Not because you punished her, but because she finally sees what she lost. And now she has to sit in that, while you rise, while you evolve, while you walk forward with no one pulling you back. You don't need to announce your departure. Your absence does that for you. And the man who walks away with dignity is the man who never needs to return. Because he's not running from her. He's running to himself. And in that, he becomes untouchable. Number 7, let silence build desire. You've talked enough. You've explained yourself. You've shown up. You've texted first. You've over-communicated your intentions, shared your feelings, opened up with the hope she'd see how genuine you are. But she didn't see it. She didn't feel it. She didn't value it. Because you made yourself predictable, accessible, ordinary. She never had to wonder what you were thinking because you told her. Never had to miss you because you never left. Never had to chase you because you were already there, every single time. And in that consistency, in that constant need to connect, you erased the very thing that sparks attraction, mystery, wonder, space, curiosity. You gave her the ending of the story before she finished the first chapter, and now she's bored. Not because you're not a good man, not because you didn't try, but because you didn't leave anything for her to discover. You tried to love her through clarity, when what she needed was contrast. She needed to feel your absence. She needed to sit in silence and ask herself what she was feeling. She needed space to reflect. And you denied her that by constantly being there, constantly filling every silence with attention, every gap with validation, every moment with availability. You wanted to prove your worth by being present, but worth is never proven through noise. It's proven through value, and value is always felt in its absence. Think about air. You don't notice it until it's gone. Water. You don't crave it until you're thirsty. Light. You don't appreciate it until you've sat in the dark. You've been her light switch, her backup plan, her comfort. And now she doesn't see you as essential. She sees you as expected. And that's your fault. Because you didn't understand that desire is built in space, not suffocation. In withdrawal, not pursuit. In silence, not explanation. The most attractive man isn't the one who speaks the most. He's the one who leaves her wondering what he's thinking, who doesn't reply immediately, who disappears for days because he's building, focused, disciplined, unavailable, not emotionally distant, emotionally mature. The man who doesn't play games, but doesn't allow himself to be played either. That man. He lives in her mind rent-free. She checks her phone. She overthinks. She imagines, because she doesn't know where she stands. She doesn't know if you're thinking about her. And that tension, that uncertainty, that's what sparks real desire. That's what makes her reach out. That's what makes her crave your attention instead of tolerate it. But you have to be okay with being silent. You have to be strong enough to pull back, to leave her on read, to sit in the discomfort of not chasing. Because silence is hard when you're used to begging for clarity. But that silence becomes your power. She texts, "Hey," out of nowhere, and you wait hours to respond, not because you're manipulating her, but because you're not obsessed anymore. You've stopped orbiting her world. You've started building your own. You're no longer invested in her mood. You're invested in your mission. And when she feels that shift, everything changes. She can't figure you out. She doesn't know if you're still into her. And instead of you chasing reassurance, now she's the one chasing yours. But don't get cocky. This isn't about turning the tables. It's about turning inward. Because the moment you use silence just to trigger her response, you've already lost again. Your silence must come from peace, not strategy, from confidence, not bitterness, You're not trying to make her miss you. You're just no longer giving her free access to you. You've upgraded your standards. You've realized that real connection is mutual. And if she's not showing up with energy, effort, consistency, she gets silence. Not because you're punishing her, but because your energy is sacred. And the only people who should receive it are those who earn it, every time, without negotiation. So let the silence sit. Let her overthink. Let her feel the void. And in that space, in that distance, in that gap you used to fill, she will feel your value louder than you ever said it. And if she doesn't, if she never reaches out, that's your answer. Because a woman who doesn't miss your silence never valued your presence. And you need to accept that. You need to stop convincing people to care. You need to stop reminding people of your worth. You need to stop begging to be seen. You are no longer here to perform for love. You are here to protect your peace, to build your life, to honor your path. And if she wants to be part of that, she'll show up with more than words. She'll show up with effort, with consistency, with depth. Until then, you stay silent. You keep building. You keep evolving. You let your absence do what your presence never could. Reveal your true worth. And when you do, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop reacting, that's when you become the man they all talk about, the man they regret losing, the man who was never loud, but was always unforgettable. If you're done being the man who gives everything and gets nothing, if you're done watching her slip away while you stay loyal, silent, and invisible, then it's time to flip your entire reality. The Stoic relationship blueprint is not for the weak. It's for the man who's ready to stop chasing and start commanding respect. Not just in love, but in life. And it's linked right now in the comments. Own it and it's yours forever. No more guesswork, no more pain, just results. If you feel this in your soul, comment "No more begging," like the video, and subscribe. Because there's a man out there wasting years on a woman who'll never value him until he hears this truth.